Meridian, it is the two best hours of local live talk radio and also live streaming and also what do you call apping when we're sending it to you on the app, or is that same as streaming too? Roger B here with you on this Tuesday, the 18th of June. This is the third Tuesday. We'll explain why we like that so much in just a moment. But first, let me introduce, of course, here he is. He's always here to fill in when I'm not around because that's just the kind of guy he is. Say hi to Rob Atkinson.
Except for last week.
Except for last week.
and next Monday.
Next Monday.
Yeah.
This coming Monday. Gotcha. All right.
Yes, sir. Write it down. Stamp it.
Yeah, okay. We got you covered. Of course, I guess you had a good visit with State Games.
Yeah, it was a great week. We had
thought about you calling those ball games.
13 ball games in 3 days.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Wow. Okay. Well, glad you're back here, and good to see you. Thanks for affording me an opportunity to kind of take an extra day.
Yeah.
And let's say, speaking of taking extra days, he's the boss where he works. He gets to do whatever he wants. Say hi to Charles Frazier.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. I don't know how true that statement was, but we'll go with it.
Well, you are the boss.
Do whatever I want.
You are the boss where you work.
Well, the boss is at home.
I understand.
That's the boss when you get down to it.
Well, that's a good point. There you go. And of course, here's somebody who really understands that he, just because he's the boss where he works, doesn't mean he gets to do what he wants to do. We're glad that on this third Tuesday, we have Sheriff Ward Calhoun.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I look forward to being here.
Well, I'm glad that's something that you do instead of kind of waking up and saying, "Oh my goodness, is this the day? Is this the day I'm supposed to go to the radio station?"
That's what I do.
Yeah, I can relate.
Do you ever answer yourself and go, "No, not today"?
Have a whole discussion. Yes, gotta go. No, I don't want to. And a third voice comes in. It gets
Do
crazy.
you ever wake up in the mornings when you aren't supposed to be here and you go, "Wait a minute," and kind of freak out?
Yeah, it's happened before.
Kind of get the days a little mixed up sometimes.
Oh, Saturday.
They have these neat things called calendars you can put on your phone.
I know.
What is it?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to try that. I've heard about them.
I struggle because I've never made the complete break from paper calendars, and so there's always this back and forth.
You need to make the break, Roger.
Are you strictly electronic calendar
Yes.
now?
Look, I was a Franklin Planner guy when being a Franklin Planner guy wasn't cool.
We'll just kick Steve Covey in the knees there.
Yeah,
huh?
well, I'm just saying, when they finally, my wife even gave me one year, you remember the old Palm Pilots?
Yes, that was
Yeah,
some of the.
that was some.
They even had a little stylus. Thank you.
I saw them movement. But,
Yeah.
what do you call it? It's like a pen, but it's not a pen.
Yeah, it's a weird word. But anyway, yeah. So yes, when I finally made that break, because I lost mine one time,
Lost
for
your
like
Palm
3
Pilot.
days. No, I lost my planner.
The
it had
Franklin planner.
I was close to clinical depression because everything in my world was in there, and I had in my calendar, all my it was bad.
Yeah.
And finally did find it. The cleaning lady at the courthouse had found it and put it on her cart, and I don't know why she didn't try to look through it and figure out whose it was. But I happened to walk by and I went,
There's
like
my
Christmas. Yes.
There's all my stuff.
Yeah, but then I figured out it was, of course, then you had the phones. You had to remember to, first you had to plug them up. You had to update things, and so that was still good. But when we got to the point where I can put something in here and it magically appears on my computer at the office, or if I put it in there, it shows up on my phone, or my phone falls in the ocean. I just get another phone.
After going through being stored in some remote building in North Carolina.
I'm just telling you, it's awesome.
Oh man, the cloud.
Yep.
Stored in the cloud.
All in the cloud.
Well, that's I was the Steve Covey daytimer guy. So yeah, we had the same book, we had the same date, same thing, just different companies. But yeah, I remember when I was really serious about had everything recorded in that big old volume, that had all the pages in it. You may not remember this. You're kind of young, Charles.
Well, I have a Franklin Covey. No, I use something different now, but I've got multiple different things, electronic, and I still use the paper.
So you
as well.
You have a transition back and forth between paper and electronic stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I've got all kinds of different things.
See, it's
And
not
none
on
of
my
them keep you
phone. I wonder
straight.
if it's on my paper calendar. I do need to make that break, I guess.
It's just
Discipline
easier.
myself.
Everybody always has their phone with them. It's just now, everybody that knows me well knows that if I go, hey, okay, I'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't see me putting it in my phone, the ones that know me well look at me and go, hey, can you put that in your phone right now? Because I'm going to forget if I don't.
It was interesting. We were talking about the phones. I saw this report on Fox this morning where there was the Surgeon General was wanting to come up with some sort of a kind of a cigarette-like warning to put on social media so that for young minors, kind of limit social media for young minors.
I think it should be for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's exactly what I
Older
thought.
adults, yeah. Why just minors? That doesn't make sense.
But one of the, and I'm not sure. I guess I'm glad that I'm not raising a child in this environment, because for those of you who are on the show talking about one of the recommendations was no phones in your child's room after 9 o'clock. And then the charger can be in your room or wherever, but under your guard. But no smart devices in your child's room after 9. I said, well, yeah, that makes good practical sense. I just wonder how many people really do that.
Yeah.
Do you? What you guys think about this whole social media explosion?
I mean, I think a lot of folks, what they do now, a lot of our friends, when they go to the dinner table, here's the box. We put them all in there. We're all eating as a family.
Love it.
Or they have a time in the living room where they're spending watching TV, like, hey, here's, put it in the box, and just have that time where it's just family. But yeah, social media, it's just like, it's addictive. People just have to gravitate toward it. And some people, even when they wake up in the morning, what's the first thing they go to? They gotta click that app. So
Click on and see.
yeah.
Of course, now, Sheriff, we realize you probably can't put all your phones in a box.
Yeah.
It'd be a big box.
It's been a point of contention through the years. I remember back, it's been, I don't know, 10 years or so. Used to have that Crime Stopper phone, and I carried that thing for,
Was it ever a Crime Stopper beeper?
No, it was a phone.
It was always a phone.
I can remember when some of the first one we had was a bag phone, and then we got, you had a phone. It was an odd shaped phone. I remember that. And I remember I found somewhere to buy an extended life battery that went like more than 4 hours. It went like 5 hours or something before you had to plug it in. And I was like ecstatic, because it was, you were constantly trying to charge this phone. And I mean, I carried it with me, everywhere. And my wife, she rightly so, at some point along the way, vacation, it's just all the ways you had it.
Yeah.
And
got to have that.
she said, we got to do something different. And we had just been to a Crime Stoppers conference, and they had advertised about an answering service that all they did was answer Crime Stopper phones. I went back to the board and said, guys, we need to look at this. And it's actually been a good thing. I mean, we use it today. It's a great
board supervisors. My wife says we need to look at this.
Yeah.
The wife says I got to. Okay.
Well, that's a little different. I asked for this phone. So that's just part of it. But it's. I don't get woken up every night, but
Well, we're certainly glad you're here, and we want to get into some of the topics of the Sheriff's Department. And folks, this is the morning. If you have any questions for the Sheriff, you can give him a call right here. The number is 601-485-9191, 601-485-9191. Put you right here with the Sheriff if you have any questions or comments. But first, let's thank the people that make this show possible. Thinking about batteries, who can get you the best batteries at the best possible price? I'm talking about the folks at Battery One Source.
We talking John Dufour?
We are talking John.
2618 North Frontage Road is where you'll find Battery One Source, your one source for all batteries. Of course, they got them for watches, remotes, cell phones, even your laptop computers. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. If your laptop doesn't have a battery, it's not a laptop, it's a desktop. You can make it a laptop once again by going to see John Dufour at Battery One Source. And of course, if your cell phone's breaking, they've got the best cell phone repair guy in the business, bringing in for that quick fix. And golf cart service and repair, there's not a better place in town. If your golf cart's not running, bring yours there to 2618 North Frontage Road. Give them a call, 601-693-1500. They're open 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. That's Battery One Source, your one source for batteries.
Sheriff, big kudos to you guys. Just reading the information about the arrests you guys made on Friday night at out in the was it the Causeyville Road area at that
right
business there?
Yeah, the A&A Express. That's where persistence pays off, and the patrol deputies got there as quickly as they could, and they began working the scene, and were able to get some good information and work the area. We actually ended up with 3 people that in 2 different vehicles, and called investigators out. We had several investigators came out, and they worked throughout the night. Ended up being able to make an arrest that morning. I guess about 7:30 is when they actually got the guy charged. The other 2 individuals were not involved. Investigation's still open. There's some other things we're looking at, but we have the individual who we don't believe, we know robbed the store there, and so that was really good. The guys and girls worked, like I said, overnight. These are a lot of times people forget when these things happen. They'd worked all day on Friday, gone home, done whatever they'd done, and they're in bed by the time they get a phone call at midnight, and they get back up and stay up all night long into the next morning, doing all the things, dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's. An arrest is good, but an arrest is not the finish line. The finish line is a successful prosecution of that case in court, and you get held accountable for everything you do. Dotting the I's and crossing the T's is people often refer to the details. That's where cases most time are lost, and you got to make sure you do all that right. And so, but they did a really good job with that. So you always like it when those things happen.
And I've also got to say, too, I appreciate you guys being so thorough, too, with releasing the information. I really encourage folks to go like the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office Facebook page, because you guys put a lot of good stuff out there.
We do, and we have an employee who does that, day in and day out during the week, and I have access to it. And she does stuff off hours, too, sometimes when things happen. Sometimes I call her and say, hey, I need you to work on this if I can't get to it myself, and I try to do it. And so we try to keep information on there as best we can. It's the world we live in. We were talking about cell phones a minute ago, and it's the world that we live in. And to be able to get that information out there. Spoke to a group yesterday about some safety things, and one of the things I was encouraging them to do, side note here, one of my new pet peeves, it's been a pet peeve, but many times people in our community will repost things, we're looking for this woman. She was found on the side of the road. She's at the emergency room. Nobody knows who her family. All that is a scam. We are not taking pictures of victims in hospital beds and putting them on saying we don't know who she is. It's going to come from official channels. I encourage people, don't share that kind of. It's garbage, and you're wasting your time and other people's time putting that kind of thing out there. Go, like you said, like our page, follow our page so that you get official information. And we also, of course, have a great relationship with all the different media in our community, and we put that information out to them as well, so if they can, do stories on that and put it on their websites and social media pages as well.
Yep, Lauderdale County MS Sheriff's Office is the page.
Correct.
So go like it and follow it, and a lot of good stuff up there.
So the person was captured, and then as far as the investigation goes, what kind of things have to happen after the arrest is made?
Well, in this particular case, this individual was in an automobile, and so the automobile's going to have to be searched. We're going to get a search warrant to search that vehicle. There's going to be video. Most of the time, stores and those kind of locations, you got video evidence you want to make sure that you get and capture, and so that has to be done. And then also on the backside, other things we're going to be doing is, I'm telling all the secrets. I don't know if I want to tell all
bring them.
Yeah,
I'm taking notes.
Think about it.
Sure.
There are other technology that we utilize in order to document.
It was so much easier for me to take notes in my daytimer. I just can't type all this in fast enough.
Find the daytimer.
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to try to make sure that we have everything that we need to do a successful prosecution. So
good answer. Good answer.
That's what they do.
Well, it's Mornings in Meridian, and of course, Sheriff Ward Calhoun is on with us. If you want to give us a call, we'd love to hear from you. 601-485-9191. 601-485-9191.
So I got other things to tell y'all about. So now's a good time. College for Kids was awesome.
Oh,
I know y'all are way too old to go to College for Kids.
Hey, I was out there.
Whoa,
I
wait
was
a
out there
minute.
going to state games, and I felt like I was parking next to a sheriff's office vehicle every day. You guys
Exactly,
were out there every day.
So
I felt good.
Yeah, our folks did a great job, and we've done it for years. Doing one of the classes out there, and we try to, make it interesting for the kids, and they do something different every day. They had, SWAT day. They had Meridian Police came out with their K9 one day. The investigators came out and they did fingerprints and talked about that, and did I think they did a little crime scene, I think, and showed them how they do that. And one day's patrol, talking about the things they do on patrol. Now this year we did not do the driving. In years past we have done the driving. We'll put the kids go down to the airport real quick and we go through a little course. And the kids like that. Of course, you got every 7 or 8 year old. I want to drive. Nah, can't do that. You're gonna have to ride. Maybe when you get to be like 9 or 10, we'll talk about it. But
That's fine. Yeah.
So, but College for Kids is a great program that's been in our community for years, and so we're glad to be able to participate with that. And of course, it's 2 weeks. So, and our school resource officers, they're out of school. And they're kind of burning time from all the time they build up over the school year, but they do that activity. Not exclusively, but a lot of them are the ones that are kind of leading the charge on that. I got to go to my first sheriff's conference a week before last.
Nice.
That was interesting.
Bunch of sheriffs.
Yeah, a bunch of sheriffs.
Where
together.
where did they put a bunch of sheriffs together? Is that the Mississippi wide or
It
national?
was, it was
Okay.
Mississippi. It's a Mississippi
Okay.
Sheriff's Conference, the summer conference is
Like
it's
downtown
called.
Jackson. Where were you?
Well, we were in.
That'd be a good place for
We
it.
were
Yes.
yeah.
It got safe all of a sudden.
That's
What
the day
happened?
I should have gone to Jackson.
Right,
Yeah.
of course. Just don't drink
Well,
water.
no, we were at down on the coast at the what was the name of that place? Golden Nugget Casino. I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So and
Gambling.
well, some of these casinos you had to walk through the casino to get to the hotel and all that kind of. This one you don't, which was great. Once I figured that out, because you don't have to go through all the smoke and everything. But anyway, so good conference. There are 82 sheriffs in Mississippi. There are 80 who are members of the association, and of those 80, 70 were at the conference.
Well, what about the 2 that aren't members? They just wouldn't let them in? Or?
I guess they choose not to.
Huh,
You
well,
don't
They
have.
left,
There's
they
nothing-
left
Whatever
them.
they are.
They left them down there with the smoke and the.
Well,
You just stay in the
stuff.
casino
Yeah,
part,
yeah.
right?
So, but it was a good time to network, and of course, the speakers and everything you do at the conference is geared, for sheriffs. And or at least I haven't, and most people I don't think very often. I don't think about the vast difference between the counties in our state. And we think we're all here in Mississippi, so we kind of know each other. But there's a vast difference between a DeSoto County and a Issaquena County. They give us they gave us a book, a little almost like a little directory that has each county. It's in alphabetical order. There's the state is printed on there, and their county is darkened in. So if you don't know where that particular county is, you kind of I kind of know where that's at, and information about the sheriff and email and phone numbers and a number of beds in their jail, number of deputies, and population. And so I'm going through this, and I'm beginning to notice that a lot of counties don't have but 4, 5, 6, 8,000 people. And then I get to Issaquena County, and it said 1,255, I believe. And I said, that's got to be a typo, and it's not.
It's
And it's like 440 some odd. I Googled it then, started looking. It's like 440 some odd square miles. I mean, Lauderdale County 715, so it's it's bigger than half, but not quite 2/3 of our size. But literally, that sheriff could know everybody in his county,
He probably does.
and does. Yeah.
Kind of a Mayberry thing.
Well,
there.
they had a 24-bed jail though. That's what was amazing to me. I was like,
Will they rent some of that
Yeah.
space to
yeah.
us?
I was about to say.
I wouldn't want to have to drive over there to get there.
Lord.
Yeah.
But there's just a vast difference. While we have the same laws and all of that, it's just a difference in need. And
Right.
and so, but I thought they did a good job with the different speakers they had. I learned some good information, made some good contacts with others that they're in the same boat that I find myself in. So it's always good to find those sheriffs that have been in office a while. And of course, I got a great resource with Sheriff Solly, but
Yeah.
also I got others that I can touch base with and that kind of thing. So it was a good conference. It was worth. I'll be honest, I was dreading going down there. Everybody knew I was like, I really don't want to go. But Sheriff Saw said you need to go. There's things going to go on down there. You're going to learn about that'll be valuable to you.
Sure.
So it was good.
Yeah, that's your job. Kind of stay on the top of what's on the cutting edge of law enforcement.
Well,
so that's good.
A lot of the good ideas, things we've done, are things that he brought back from those conferences. Things, for example, the good news. It's Global Prison Ministries now. That came out of a sheriff's conference where he met a guy that was that had I think one chaplain in Mississippi in Vicksburg, I think. And now we have the longest serving chaplain in Mississippi with their organization, with Dennis Marks.
As far as the size of the sheriff's departments, where do we rank in the state as far as the number of personnel?
Yeah, we are in the upper, I don't know exactly. I'm going to say we're probably in the top 12, 13, 10, something like that.
Okay.
It's
because having so there's a lot of
Tunica County.
All right.
Of course, they had those casinos for a long time, but he has as many deputies as we do, and he's only got 10,000 people.
He was getting ready just in case they opened that hotel up to.
The kids.
Exactly.
It was just on the ready for that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, are we in proportion to the number of deputies with the population as compared to the rest of the state?
This is anecdotal because I'm looking through the book, kind of looking. I'd say we're close.
Okay.
And some of that has to do too with how many cities some places have, versus just being the county. You get somebody like. Some of these counties have 4 and 5 municipalities in them, so there's a lot of people in that county now got their own police
You
department.
got 3 in this county. You got Meridian, Marion, and Bassick City.
No,
that's a city.
What's it called? Bassick?
It says Bassick City. Yeah,
Bassick
isn't that a
City.
city? It says it's a city.
It's a city. Yeah, it's a city.
it's in Clark County.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That would be Sheriff Chancellor.
Well, that's going to be down there.
Yeah.
See,
Right across the line, it's right there.
I was just testing to see if the
Nice
sheriff
job.
knew
Well done.
the
Yeah,
boundaries
good.
where
Okay.
where the county line was.
That's good. That was good, Roger.
Morning. Okay, now sit down. Be quiet. Mornings in Meridian. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. We're visiting with Sheriff Ward Calhoun, and we'll be back after this.
alligators and the quicksand beds. But all these years that I've been here, ain't nobody got past red. And the warden sang, come on somebody, why don't you run? Old Red's itching to have a little fun. Get my lantern, get my gun. Red'll have you treat for the morning come.
Old Red. Little Blake Shelton this morning. Welcome back to Mornings in Meridian, everybody. Blake Shelton, happy birthday to the young man. He just turned 48 years old. So happy birthday, Blake Shelton. Also, not so young, but still with us, Paul McCartney.
So Paul.
Paul is 82.
Okay.
All right. Actress Carol Kane is 72, and Isabella Rossellini is 72 as well. So today is your birthday on the 18th of June. First of all, don't break the law, and then go get yourself something nice.
At least not in Lauderdale County. I mean,
And be
other
sure
places, that's fine. But,
And be sure and pay for it.
yeah, please do.
Mornings of Meridian. Roger, back with Rob. Okay, Charles.
Yeah?
The Sheriff of Lauderdale County, Ward Calhoun.
Good morning.
Do you have K-9 unit still at the Sheriff's
We do
Department?
not.
Okay.
not.
I didn't know if you had old red or blue
No,
or
we
any,
don't.
any of those
Yellow.
dogs.
We have had them through the years. We currently don't have any right now.
Okay. Is that something you would like or you need or?
It's one of those things we've talked about. Actually, been talking about the last few weeks.
Got any cats?
He ain't got any cats. After what I saw from the Beagles,
We got the feline unit rolling.
too finicky.
Yeah.
But after seeing the dogs that came from the prison, the little manhunt back in, when was that, March or April? Individual that had escaped out of the Kemper County Jail and was down here crossing over the line around Wynot over into Choctaw County, Sheriff Lolly's area down there. He called the prison, I don't remember what the prison's name is, over in Alabama, and they brought a pack of beagles over, and 20 minutes later, he was in custody.
There you go.
There we go.
I said, forget drones, forget German Shepherds. We obviously need beagles because,
Pack of them.
you know, they got it done. Fairly impressive.
There you
Like a
go.
fox hunt.
Boo, boo.
Not
There's
even-
old blue.
Oh, blue.
No bloodhound beagle now. They apparently have them trained well. So
Well, that's I don't know. I know when you talk about budget constraints and personnel, and you're thinking, okay, that's a whole different department in the department. So
well, that is
You don't
a
have to
real.
pay dogs.
That is well, you don't, but you have to buy them to begin with, and they're extremely expensive.
you own dogs, you got to pay dogs,
Well, you just got to feed them.
or you got to
really.
pay the veterinarian anyway.
Yeah, vet bills. Oh, yeah.
You know, having there's a real dedication that goes into having a canine because that's not something you get off on. You get off Sunday and go, well, I don't go back to work till Wednesday. Well, it's not like you put the dog in a box and forget about it. You have to
Yeah.
take care of this dog at home, and actually, by federal law, canine officers get 30 minutes a day for maintenance of the dog. So you have to pay them
Yeah,
for their time for doing that.
feeding and scooping.
Yep. And a good handler is going to work with a dog every day. They're going to be doing something with that dog.
Wow.
You know, in terms of either odor, working on the odors, or apprehension, or tracking. So, yeah, well, not that kind of odor. This time of year, that is a thought. Thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mornings in Meridian. Glad you're out there. Let's make sure that you know where to go when you need something done with your vehicle. Because just ask the sheriff. You're gonna have a scratch. You're gonna have a dent or a ding or worse, have a crash. And it's good to kind of already know how you're going to handle it once that happens. And a good way to know is plan and make sure you know what auto body shop is going to take your vehicle and make it like new, like Premier Paint and Body Shop.
That's right. 2 calls. You call the sheriff and you say you got an accident. Well, you don't call him necessarily, but certainly the office.
911, what's your emergency?
Yep. Well, after you call them, then you call Premier Paint and Body, and that number is easy to remember, 601-482-PAINT, and you tell your tow truck driver, or if you can drive the vehicle yourself, you bring it over to 39 North, right next to Johnson Dodge on Highway 39 North. It's 1210B. Highway 39 North is the actual address where you'll find Ty Booker, who leads the team. He's been doing it for over 20 years now. Yes, indeed. He is a good man, and so is the rest of the crew. What's great about Premier Auto Body is that no job is too small or too large, whether it's a ding, a dent, a scratch, or something bigger. Of course, they'll give you a free estimate. They'll work with the insurance company, and all of their work has a lifetime warranty. All you got to do is tell that tow truck driver, bring it to Premier Paint and Body. Right next to Johnson Dodge. Of course, they're open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, 601-482-PAINT. That's Premier Paint and Body. They are the premier paint and body shop here in town.
It's Mornings in Meridian, and Sheriff Ward Calhoun is here with us. If you have a question for him, give him a call right here, 601-485-9191. If you want to comment about this, that, or the other thing, you can still make that phone call.
Sheriff, just wanted to get your thoughts on this. We talked about this pretty extensively yesterday. The frustration with a lot of sheriffs around the country, especially up in Maryland. They made the arrest a few days ago of the individual who crossed the border illegally last year, raped and murdered this woman of this mother of 5. And that sheriff up in that county, I think it's Hartford County, Maryland, spoke over the weekend. He was pretty frustrated with the current administration and other folks up in D.C. with this open border crisis. But it seems like we're hearing more and more of these stories every day, it seems like, all around the country with illegal immigrants. But I know you can probably feel some of his frustrations whenever he was speaking the other day. It's unbelievable.
I did not see the entire press conference, but I did see part of it, and it is akin to taking a knife and whittling on your finger and going, "Oh, that hurts. Maybe I should stop." But you keep doing it, and as a country, it is frustrating to me that we have all these laws, and we have a system of government, and then we have the executive branch who just says, "Hey, we're really just not going to do that," because that's it's no different than what I do. We are the ones that carry out the law. We're the one that enforce it, and it's very frustrating that we as a country, when I say it that way, it's really the government, the federal government, the executive branch says, we're just not going to do that, and it is. It has not impacted us greatly here yet, but it certainly could.
Sure.
Most of the interactions with people that we come across that are not here legally, we see a lot of DUIs, which sometimes that costs us all money when we have automobile crashes and those kind of things. I recognize that there's a number of people who come to this country for the desire for a better life for their family. And there's a process you go through to do that. And if I tell you who I think ought to be the most frustrated, and I think they are, because I've actually talked to a gentleman one time, it's been about maybe 2 years ago, who was here legally, who spent all the money, who did everything the right way.
I think these people are frustrated.
And then you have these other folks that don't follow any of the rules, and now we're just going to say, oh, well, guess what? You're not the way our system of government was set up. It has been out of control under both Republican and Democratic administrations for years. The difference has been the degree that it's been out of balance. And we as a country, I just don't understand why this is, to me, this isn't complicated. But it's become very complicated.
In this case, though, we were talking about this yesterday, the DNA evidence they used to track this guy down. Reading more into this article here on Fox News, it says they got this guy. He was sitting at a bar Friday night in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, the murder happened all the way last year in Maryland, and they had DNA evidence there out in L.A. I mean, that is a pretty complicated process that they had to go through.
Unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
I really don't know this with certainty. It's going to be a little bit of a guess, but even in Mississippi now, we do DNA when you come into the prison system.
Yeah.
And so there's a national database.
Sure.
So at some point in time, he'd gotten arrested, or maybe at the border, or previous deportation. Somewhere along the way, his DNA got collected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so once they had from the crime scene, it's pretty easy to match. Now finding him, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
But that's what we got like U.S. Marshals for. That's what they do, and they are very good at it.
Yeah, because the sheriff there in that county said it took 10 months. I think what we said yesterday.
It did, and we talked about that this is a very low crime area, and so this sheriff, he was focused on that. I mean, he was zeroed in on this murder.
It happened a mile from where they were having the press conference at.
Yeah, But if you've got 1 or 2 murders a year, and one is a mother of 5, you're working that one, and you're never going to let it go. Well, maybe until you have another 1 or 2. But certainly, if you're in a very low crime area like the sheriff described, then yes, he was on it. And what about all the other murders that maybe aren't so high profile? That it's just somebody who's it's kind of somebody that's not, I guess, what we would deem as important as this woman was, because she was a mother of 5. It's some transient or something like that. And how many murders like that are committed and then they're not pursued because it's just white noise. It's with so many other crimes that it's kind of forgotten about, and they just put it on the back shelf and say, okay, we're focusing on the next 5 murder cases that we have.
Yeah, the ability to investigate crime scenes is a minute ago I was talking about the difference in just our own state, but in our country, I mean, you have departments that are you have some departments in our country that are as well funded as the state of Mississippi is. They have the technology, the personnel to do major investigations.
And when you say matching DNA, I'm assuming that there's a database and the computers just can automatically just pull that information up fairly quickly.
Well, it's a national database, but I mean, you have to be able to submit that, and of course, you have to have a known sample in order to get a hit to say, okay, this is this person. But there's a huge difference in the abilities of departments, and as you were saying, some areas have maybe 1 murder a year, or sometimes they go years and only have 1. So there's a good and bad to that. Obviously, the good is you only have 1 murder. The bad is, of course, sometimes your investigators aren't used to working those kind of cases, and they're different, and every. So you have to. That's part of it. But they usually have more resources to work on a case like that. One of the frustrations, especially in Mississippi, is our crime lab. We talk about this. I fussed about it. We talked about it at the sheriff's conference. We've got a great building over there, but half of the staff positions aren't filled. It takes too long to get results back, and it's a matter of money. It's a matter of having enough money and appropriated by the legislature to make sure those positions are filled. And you understand when you hear from the crime lab folks, you got people, they'll sometimes hire somebody new, fresh out of college, out of their training, and they stay a year or 2, and then they're offered a job in an adjoining state making twice as much money. So what are they going to do? They're going to leave. And so keeping people has been a problem through the years. And so what happens is we end up with backlogs, which means that many times the key to making an arrest and putting somebody in jail and having a successful prosecution is sitting at the crime lab. Once we get it back, boom. But what's been going on for that additional 4, 6, 8 months? They're out there committing more crime. So it is very frustrating.
Yeah, this guy we're talking about here, he crossed the border illegally in February of 2023, a month after he was wanted for a murder in El Salvador. And they actually linked his DNA to a March home invasion in Los Angeles where a mother and a 9-year-old daughter were assaulted. So that's how they tracked the DNA, and that's when they picked him up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he murdered this mother of 5 in August of last year. And by the way, this is a God thing right here. The DNA that came back, the tip on that, came on this woman's, the murdered mother, on her 38th birthday. So that may have been a little bit of a God thing right there that happened.
And you just wonder, how do these people go from one side of the country to the other?
Exactly. So he was in Maryland, El Salvador, crosses the border, Maryland,
L.A.,
Tulsa. I mean, he's everywhere.
It is interesting, and maybe in your sheriff's conference, maybe you've had discussion with or maybe they even had presentation about illegals. I too was at the coast just recently this weekend, and driving around trying to find some ethanol-free gas. I was actually doing that on a early morning, Sunday morning.
What else does one do on a Sunday
I
morning?
know, ethanol-free gas.
It's a hobby.
I became quite dissatisfied with the fact that it's so hard to find ethanol-free gas in our country. It's like, come on. But you don't want to put that in if you have a device that's going to sit up, you don't want regular old ethanol in there. So anyway, the point is, I saw this one station down Highway 49, Gulfport. This is early, so it's not like a busy time of the week or day. And there had to be like a dozen people that appeared to be of the homeless. Let's see, what's the word that they use now?
Unhoused.
Unhoused. They appeared to be unhoused. Right. And then I couldn't help but think, okay, is this the third world that we're importing by our border policies, or just a large group of homeless? Any discussions from your fellow law enforcement peers in Mississippi about how the border is affecting parts of our state?
We did not. And actually, the only conversation I had about that, we did talk about I had one conversation with Sheriff over Scott County, Sheriff Mike Lee. They have a large population of Hispanic people who work in the chicken industry over there. And, his comments were, we generally speaking, don't have a lot of calls. They kind of stay to themselves and do their own business, and we just don't have a whole lot. And we've had
what they called migrant workers in this country ever since I know that I've been alive.
Right.
There's always been that element that they're here to do the job and do it and not bother anybody. And
there's a process to go through when you do that legally, and that's the thing. If we would just do the things that we already have in place, that would be great. But we choose not to.
And I know who you mean by we. Mornings in Meridian. Let's take a phone call. Good morning, caller. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm waiting for November for the great deportation to begin, but anyway, we'll see about that.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. I wanted to ask the sheriff if we just had an animal who killed a police officer and a pregnant woman, kill him, and of course he's going to live off the taxpayers for the rest of his life, ever how long that may be, food, housing, medical care, and whatever. And now we got the elderly couple that was just sit there and beaten to death. 90-something plus could have robbed them 100 times without ever having to touch them, but chose to beat them to death with his fist or whatever he used. Sheriff, do you think the death penalty is a deterrent, and will we ever see the death penalty issued in a case again instead of this plea bargaining? And I'll hang up. Listen, thanks a lot.
My take on it, and has been for a number of years, is that the status that we find ourselves in our country, the death penalty is really not a deterrent today. And the reason for that is because it takes so long. And I don't remember the current number, but it's like 20 plus years. By the time you get around to that happening, most people, unless they're involved in that situation, family member, or have some direct contact, they don't even remember that crime occurring. I think that we need to figure out a way to expedite that, and with the technology and all the information that we have today, I think we could do that. A 5-year, 7-year cap, and once that's done, it's done. Now, look, I'm all about our system of justice. The old saying, it's better for 100 guilty men to walk free than one. Now I'm messed up saying that one innocent man to be imprisoned. And so that has been our system for all these years. It has served our country well. However, I do think that there's some things that we need to figure out how to do better, and that's certainly one of them, because I don't know that it is a deterrent the way we currently have it. And it's not uniformly done across our country, which is a part of the problem too, but you're really not going to change that because different states, we all, side note, I'm reading a book right now about George Washington, Rescuing the Constitution. I think maybe Brett Baer wrote it. I may have the title wrong. It's all about George Washington and the Constitutional Convention, and about our Constitution, which, I find fascinating how these founding fathers thought through so many things. But even they recognize, and in the book, there's a lot of parts of the book where it's actual letters between individuals. Madison and Jefferson to Washington. And these letters, that we have them today. Figuring that out was complicated, and they knew it. But they also knew, to have a nation, that we had to figure it out. Actually, one of the learning point I've gotten out of the book is they didn't get together to write a constitution. They got together to correct and to fix the Articles of Confederation. And there were some of them, though, that said we got to do something new, and so they finally kind of got around to that. And the preamble, "We the people," first draft was "We the states."
Wow.
And the reason for that was you had all these states. They viewed themselves as states, and they were concerned about having a federal government that was too powerful. And quite honestly, that's where we find ourselves today. That's my take on it. Federal government has way too much power in our lives. But anyway, so to bring it back to the topic at hand, it's states. Some states have death penalty, some don't. Some have different methods of applying it. You can be hung. I think Colorado still out there. I think you can have a firing squad. So there's different methods for it. But bottom line, overall,
just the fact that we take a long time to get it done, and it's really a death sentence in this country is really like a life sentence, really.
Yeah.
We got to take a quick break. We'll come back. We're visiting with Ward Calhoun, Sheriff, Lauderdale County, Mississippi. You can give him a call right here at our number, 601-485-9191. Let's pay this bill. All right, welcome back to Mornings in Meridian. A couple of minutes before we have to take our Fox News break, but let's take those phone calls. 601-485-9191. Roger here along with Rob. Charles is in the house.
Yep.
Sheriff, well, we had somebody on the line.
Did you pay your bill?
I didn't. Fortunately, I
That was them calling back.
That was them
again.
calling back.
They called yesterday.
Oh, the ones that...
Yeah, looking for
Is
you.
that our robocalls coming to the station now?
We told him where you live. So
This is where we got
We
to.
need the last four of your social security number,
We
please.
gave it to him. This is Rogers. We got it right here. Date of birth, you got it. But
Just to kind of recap what the sheriff said earlier, though, and again, welcome back, Sheriff, for a little short moment before we go into the next hour there. And you just mentioned, though, just remember, scammers are out there hot and heavy, and they'll do anything they can to get your attention and hopefully lead to getting your money. And the sheriff is not going to information.
Exactly.
All right.
And look, I've been the last couple of weeks. I've been lots of places talking. I'm going to a luncheon today for seniors, talking about this because you have to be your first line of defense. You have to, and everything's got good and bad. We've talked a little bit about this morning. Social media, telephones. One of the good things is the information and all that you can do with your phone. The bad thing is lots of people can call you, and I'm really encouraging seniors to not talk to these folks.
Just don't talk. How about saying,
don't answer the phone if you don't know.
How about not answer the phone, or once you get asked for something, you hang up, or you give one simple, well, just don't say anything. Just hang up. There you go. All right, we got a Fox News break. We'll take care of that, and we'll come back. We'll take more calls, more questions, more visit with Sheriff Ward Calhoun. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody, to Mornings in Meridian. The second hour now of the two best hours of local live talk radio. Right here in East Mississippi, West Alabama. Roger along with Rob Atkinson.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing?
Doing good.
How about you, Charles Frazier?
Good morning.
Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you.
And, of course, here with us this morning, because this is the third Tuesday of the month, and we're always glad to have, at that point, the Sheriff of Lauderdale County. Welcome, our Sheriff, Ward Calhoun.
Good morning, sir.
I'll tell you what, it's interesting how thoughts that go through your head, because they were talking about the heat wave this last weekend. Saturday got up to almost 99 or whatever it was, and hot day and summertime, and I thought, oh, I remember what the candidates were doing this time last year.
What?
Do you have any, I guess, any kind of post-traumatic stress from the temperature
The
when it
heat
gets hot
tends
like
to
that?
me to remind me. I feel like I'm standing in front of a door knocking.
There's somebody out there knocking on the door.
I always liked it when somebody come to the door and they'd open it wide open. And they might not invite you in, but the air conditioning was coming out, and you're still hot on the back. It's kind of like being camping, where you stand next to a fire and you're cold on one side, hot on the other.
Just enough to get that air. Yeah.
Just ask me another question.
Right before
please.
that door got slammed right back in.
Yeah.
That's that one little moment there. Yeah, that was just a year ago campaigning for the job, and of course that's all water under the bridge now. And here you are, your first 6 months into the job. I guess it's been almost 6 months.
Yeah.
So we are glad you're here with us to tell us what's going on with the Sheriff's Department. And we want to remind folks, if you'd like to ask Sheriff Calhoun a question, you're welcome to give him a call. He's not afraid to answer it. Bring it right here, 601-485-9191, 601-485-9191. Put you right here in the studio with us. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends right up the road in Philadelphia. Who are our friends? Well, we have a lot of friends up there, but in particularly I'm talking about the folks at Doc's Toyota.
That's right. 5-star visits and sales and service every time you go up there. And it's just a short ride up to Philadelphia, Mississippi. There on Highway 16 West, you will find Doc's Toyota. They've got all kinds of 2024 Camrys, Tacomas, 4Runners, Highlanders, Tundras, Corollas, Priuses, you name it, they've got it. They also have a huge,
very large
selection of pre-owned inventory, all been through the rigorous multi-point Toyota inspection process, so you know you're getting a good quality used vehicle. And, of course, it's just as easy to drive up to Philadelphia as it is to drive over to their website at docstoyota.com, where they list all their inventory. You can pick and choose whatever you'd like, whether that's new or pre-owned, and you can even purchase a vehicle online. How cool is that? Now, if you don't know that you wish to purchase a new Toyota, go up there to Doc's, rent one for a couple days, make sure you love it, and when you do, go see them at Doc's. All these dealerships have deals. You get a toaster with one, a blender with another. Who needs those things?
No.
I don't need them. I got like 2 toasters already. But I tell you what, the deal at Doc's is fantastic. In fact, I always like to say there is
no deal like a Doc's deal. All right, it's Mornings in Meridian, and we have a caller on the line, so let's go to the phones. Good morning, caller. Welcome.
How y'all doing today?
Hey, good morning. Great.
Great, good. I've got a question for the sheriff. I just wondered about the property crimes issue. When you were running for election, I called in and asked about whether they're going to be handled differently. I think I told you I had my tool room was robbed a couple of times over the last 20 years, and first time was about $3,000 worth of weed eaters and chainsaws and tools were gone, and second time was about $5,000. And when I asked the deputy about, taking fingerprints, investigating, he said, we're not going to investigate this. We don't have the manpower. And I just wondered if that changed, because y'all were talking earlier about not enforcing the laws of the border. What's the difference?
Yeah. Well, to answer your question, first of all, I'm sorry that you got that answer. If you got that the first time or the second time back then, I wish I'd known somebody we're not investigating something. Now, sometimes there's not much to investigate. We take those reports and, with no additional information, and fingerprints are difficult. It's not always that you're going to be able to get fingerprints. A lot of it has to do with the environment. Even homes that you're in sometimes are so dusty that when people touch things, you actually don't get, you can't, it's impossible almost to get a fingerprint, or is impossible depending on what they're touching. But we should make an effort to do everything we can. When we go to take a report, it's not just to take the report, but it's to look, is there anything to collect there at all? And then what happens with that report is it goes back to the investigators. It goes into our system, and they're looking for category. Most of our criminals do the same kind of crime. And so the goal is that we catch somebody, may not be on your particular theft, but on another. And in the course of investigating that individual and that other crime, we're then able to say, okay, well, this person's been selling tools, for example, or at a pawn shop, or when we go to their home, we find additional tools that, they've got 6 skill saws. Well, who has 6 skill saws? Nobody. So they've stolen these others. And so it's a process of them backtracking and trying to figure out, okay, is this the person who, also broke into, for example, into your shop? Property crimes are one of the most difficult ones. Arson is the most difficult. Property crimes are right behind it. Last time I looked on national average, I think it's like 18% of property crimes are resolved. And it's because it's just difficult to do, because without, any kind of evidence or catching them with it, it's just difficult to do. It just is. One of the things that I always try to look on the front side of things as best we can, and I actually haven't lately been talking about it enough. So I'm glad for your question. It's a good chance for me to throw this out there to people. Doing things like tools. If you will mark your tools in some way, have the serial numbers, or mark it, etch it, put your name, an address, something. We literally at times will end up arresting somebody, and we've had our CID full of chainsaws and different various tools that we know are stolen, but we have no idea from where. And sometimes we've had people, we put it out there in the media, and they'll come by and they go, hey, 6 months ago I had this, this, and this. And they come in and they stand there and they look at all of it and they go, they think in their mind, I'll be able to recognize my own skill saw. But then when they're looking at 6 of them, they're going, I don't know if any of these are mine or not.
Oh, so, that's the easiest thing is look at the best one and take it.
Yeah,
right? That one's mine right there.
It's an upgrade. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Well, I will say this, Sheriff. I did take your deputy's advice. I did redo my tool room. I put in steel door that made it a lot more difficult to break into. And I did put in a security system. I put in an alarm that will ring and call my phone if somebody breaks in, and when the alarm is set. Also put in cameras.
Right.
And
a lot of money.
And then, but I didn't want to lose my tools again, because every time you use your insurance to pay for stuff like that, it goes up the next year. So, it's just one of those catch-22 situations. But I did have one other issue, Sheriff, I'd like to discuss with you and see if things have changed. Back in 2020. I had a business going, and we caught a guy about 5 o'clock in the morning trying to cut off one of our catalytic converters. And we had him on video. We had a great picture of him, and one of your deputies came out and investigated, and he said he would get involved with it. And then the next day, my one of the girls in the office, unbeknown to me, put this on the video on social media, and we had 24 hits with this guy's name. And even his sister, they gave me his address. And when I called, I think it was Deputy Williams I called, and to back up and tell you, we caught him in the process of cutting the catalytic converter off our truck. He didn't actually get it, okay? He ran when the guy caught him, and we were able to fix the problem for about $300. We were able to weld it back on and everything. And so when I called him, I was all tickled to death. I got the guy's name and address, and we can arrest him. And you know what they told me? They said, well, it's only going to be $300. That's a misdemeanor, and we're not arresting misdemeanors right now. And due to COVID.
And that was correct
and
at the
that
time.
really got away with me.
Yes, sir.
And but the long story short, the good news is the city caught him at one of the car lots cutting off the catalytic converter a couple of weeks later, and they put him in jail. And when we came to court, the only reason he showed up is because he was already in jail.
Already there, yeah. That
Yeah,
always
already
helps.
in jail. So we got him, but I just didn't understand that. Why I could go to all the trouble of having videos and giving you the guy's name and address, and then they tell me we're not going to arrest him.
And of course, at that time, it was a misdemeanor offense. And you're right, with the COVID, we weren't making those arrests. That is, of course, changed now. And I'm one of these people, and I try to tell all our folks, look for ways to make things happen. Whatever we can do, we should do. Unfortunately, I think the COVID and the whole not arresting folks just caused many of these people to just go wide open then, because they knew we weren't going to be arresting them if we could. And of course, when we get ready to charge somebody, you and I, we all know that he was fixing to commit a felony, because it would have been more than $1,000. But at the time, what he did do was only $300, so it's a misdemeanor.
Right.
So that's.
I guess attempted grand theft, and I guess I made Mr. Deputy Williams kind of mad. I asked him. I said, "Let me get this straight. So if I go into a bank with no gun and hand them a note, I want $10,000. I want $10,000, but I get cold feet and walk out. I haven't committed a crime because I didn't get any money." No, it don't work like that. That's what he told me.
That's right. The statute's
I said, well,
written.
to me, it's the same difference.
I understand, and I agree with you. However, the way the statute's written would not fit that. So, and I tell people, not an excuse. That's why I said work to find ways to do what we can. We have to play by the rules, the laws as they are written, and it's frustrating at times.
It really is.
I will say that our catalytic converter problem is not as bad as it once was. That has gotten a lot better. But there's still these folks out here that are stealing. If it's not bolted down, sometimes when it's bolted down, they're stealing it. But it sounds like you went the extra mile, which is good, to fix it for yourself, so that hopefully you're not a victim again with a crime like that. And that's what unfortunately we all have to do. You have to. Through the years, if I've talked to different groups or whatever, I call it the magic bubble. When people get home, it's like they drive into the magic bubble, and so that's when I don't lock my car. I leave my purse in the car. I leave my keys in the ignition. I leave my gun under the seat. And then when they're, somebody's, I probably shouldn't even say it out loud because it hadn't happened lately. But historically, we've had these groups come into a neighborhood, and it could be 3 to 5 people. One driving a car. They're all got cell phones or walkie-talkies, and they are working a neighborhood, at 2 in the morning. And we catch them occasionally, and they'll tell you they don't break in cars. They only go in the cars that are unlocked. Because breaking in the car makes noise. And they're stealing guns and purses and computers and all, high-end sunglasses. Well, you left your car unlocked. I get you want to live in Mayberry and nothing should happen at home, but the truth of the matter is we don't. So I remember a number of years ago, it's probably been 6, 7, 8 years ago, a house, they had, the keys weren't in the ignition, but I think it was in the cup holder. The key to the other car, like the wife's car, and you had the husband's car, they had opposing keys in the cars. So they drove off with both cars.
Okay.
2 for 1, yeah.
And now,
bonus round.
So, we guys, we can't make it convenient and easy for them. We got to close garage doors. Cameras are good to help document. Motion lights. Do what you can do.
COVID's over, and where they're going to arrest you behind.
Exactly. Well, our judges put out a new bond schedule about 3 months ago, and they said, the days they're frustrated. Well, it's a little different issue. It wasn't COVID, okay, but we had rule changes within the courts about how about bonds and this kind of thing, and the process to deal with these, even the misdemeanor crimes, is much more arduous. That's a good dad word. Than they once were. And so, they have to have a hearing if you don't show up for the hearing, kind of thing. We have tied ourselves up with our own set of rules in going the extra mile about people not being able to have a bond that they can afford. Now, so let me segue for just a second.
You still with us, caller?
I'm with you.
Okay, good.
I'm enjoying this.
I'm sorry, I get going sometimes, and I realize, but important points I think we need people need to.
Good segue.
Bonds. Every time something happens in our community, and I don't put a lot on social media, but I like to monitor it because it does give me a feel for what's going on, what people are thinking. And there's a huge disconnect in our community about bonds and the purpose of a bond. Our Constitution for the state of Mississippi affords each of us as a citizen a right to bond if we're accused of a crime. No matter what that crime, well, that's not technically right. Almost everything you're afforded a bond. Capital crimes is an exception, okay? But you have the right to bond when you're accused. We got to remember in our system, you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. So
Right.
a bond, and in our case, now some counties only have 2 justice courts. Now I'm not talking about cities, okay? They have their own judges. I'm talking about counties right now. Well, in our case, we have 4 justice court judges. These judges take a rotation. Now you can go to any judge to get a warrant signed, but they have a rotation they do, so we kind of know who to call, and it's a good system we worked out years ago. But when a crime occurs and we go to that judge to have a warrant signed, that judge decides what the bond is. We don't decide, the sheriff's department investigate, no, we don't decide that, the judge does. And there's criteria that they are trained by to look at this person, what they know about this person, what the crime is, how heinous it is. All these are factors they get to include. And I'm working off the top of my head, but I believe the way it's worded in the statute is a reasonable bond. Okay, so that's why sometimes you'll see somebody arrested for a burglary and they have a $5,000 bond, and the next one you see they got $50,000. Well, you have 2 different judges who may know some information that causes them to say, I've set a bond for this guy before. We're not doing 10,000. I'm doing 50.
Right.
So,
Repeat offender.
And these judges are elected by the people. They are justice court judges. They are elected every 4 years. And so that's where bonds get set. And the bond is only there so somebody, I'm going to use a term here, got skin in the game. That's for them to appear in court. That is what that is what a bond does. That's all a bond does. If we didn't have bonds, and some people say, well, don't let them get out of the jail. Well, unless we're going to be ready to build a 1,000-bed jail, we're going to have bonds. Not only that, but the Constitution affords you as a citizen that right. Because I don't want to be accused of a crime and locked up and not have an avenue to get out.
Yeah. Can I ask this question, Sheriff? That's
Certainly.
a good question about bonds. I've always heard, I've never been arrested, so I don't know. But if you bond out, you only have to pay 10% of the bond. Like a $50,000 bond, you pay $5,000 in cash, but you have to put collateral up for the other 45. Is that correct?
No, it's not. Okay, if you're a first-time offender and you've never been charged with a felony crime, you can do, without using a bail bondsman, you can do what's called a 10% bond. So if you had that $50,000 bond, you can put up $5,000. Through us, it goes to the courts. And then if there's a disposition on your case, you plead guilty, found guilty, and let's say with all the fines, you owed $6,000. Well, that $5,000 is going to be applied, and you're still going to owe $1,000. We've had that happen before, where a family member would come and do that, and then they want their money back, and they realize that, wait a minute, I just paid his fines. I remember an uncle came one time, and he was furious. But it's right there on our paperwork that says, that. And I get people don't always read it.
I gotta read it?
Yeah, well, right. So this is what a bond does. That's the purpose of the bond. That's all it's there for. And judges set those bonds, and we have to have we have to have that. It's just well, I guess we don't have to. We could redo our Constitution.
So,
but I
caller,
wouldn't be in favor of that.
So, caller, when you are arrested, you haven't been arrested yet. So when you are, at least
When
you
it
know kind of what
happens.
to do.
Yeah. I just wondered how all that worked. Somebody made that up. Okay, I never knew how that worked.
On the other side of
some
it,
people
though,
say you have to produce 10%. cash money, and then you have to have like a house or a bank account or something else for the difference. Because if you don't use a bail bondsman, because I understood that's what they do, they stand up for the whole. If you fled, the bail bondsman has to pay the total amount.
Exactly. Yeah, bail bondsman's like renting money is what you're doing. You're renting money, and I don't know exactly. It's 15 to 18%.
That's like
that
a mortgage.
they charge.
A mortgage.
Wow.
And of course,
money.
many of them these days, there's no they do it on installment. You know, where you're going to them every week, giving them $50, $100, you know, whatever the agreement is between the two of you, and they're on the hook for that money. Now, the way that works is, let's say you get out on that $50,000 bond, and you've used a bail bondsman, and you paid them whatever. They can surrender you. You commit a new crime, they find out you run off somewhere, and they have to go hunt you down. They can bring you back to us and go, boom, back in jail. We're coming off their bond, and they don't have to have much of a good reason, just other than they want to. So it's one of those. Now, most of them that are reputable, you know, they know you're going to tell others, hey, call him if you get in trouble. You're going to call them again in the future. So they try to work with people, but they're on the hook to pay the money if you don't show up for court.
Now, on the flip side, if you do go to court, you're not charged. You do get your bond money back.
No, it's rent. It's rent. So let's just say that you got out on the charge, and for whatever reason, you know, you end up, whatever the purpose, whatever the reason, you get found not guilty, whatever. The bail bondsmen, once they get their money, they're done. They've got their money.
But I guess I was thinking more, like you said, without using a bail bondsman, and I appear before
the $5,000
Your uncle did it.
You will. That would be given back to you. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Whew.
Okay.
Okay.
Getting worried there, weren't you?
Can breathe easy now.
All right.
Money and
Well, but like I say, Sheriff, I want to say this too. How comfortable I feel living in Lauderdale County as far as my person is concerned. You know, y'all do a wonderful job. I can walk up and down the road in the county, and I feel perfectly safe that nothing's going to happen to a dog bark at me or something, you know. And but I just think y'all do a wonderful job in that arena, and I want to thank you for what you do.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Good
Yes,
call. Appreciate that. All right. Thank you. 601-485-9191. We'll just keep rolling. We've got calls coming in. Questions for the sheriff. Good morning, caller. How you doing?
Good morning. First of all, I want to tell Calhoun. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're on.
First tell hi everyone.
Yeah.
I want to tell Sheriff Calhoun what an awesome job he and his team's doing.
You just did. He's listening.
Great.
Thank you.
I have a question. I don't know if you've ever been asked this. In your iPhones, you have had,
Be careful. You're breaking up on us. Hold that phone still.
okay, I'm on the phone, so it's probably the reason why. But anyway, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Your iPhone has an emergency SOS. Do they get calls from that very often?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't heard of anybody talking about it. It's not to say it hadn't happened, but I'm not familiar with any that have been made that way.
Okay, because I mean it's so easy to almost set that thing off. If you ever close your iPhone and tried to hold on to it, then that pops up, and before you know it, it's like cancel. So I was wondering if you have, and were they accidental?
Not that I'm aware of. Of course, you know, I'm the dispatch, and a lot of people in Lauderdale County don't realize this, but back in 1997, we went to a combined dispatch with the city of Meridian, and dispatch is actually a county agency within county government. So those dispatchers, they answer to a director of the 911, and that is they provide the service of dispatch and answering the 911 calls to other entities or agencies in Lauderdale County, Meridian Police and Fire and Marion and us. So they don't actually work for me. I mean, we work together. So I'm not up there every day in, day out. I don't know all the comings and goings of how things work in dispatch. I'm just glad they're there to answer the telephone. There's some unsung heroes up there that every day put up with a lot of phone calls.
We need to get them on here one of these days.
And I was wondering how accurate they work too, you know, because it's supposed to come to your location, to my understanding.
It's pretty good. I know we've had some instances where people have had car crashes, run off the road, don't know where they are, driving through our community kind of thing, and they have a system that triangulates towers or something technologically more advanced than I can describe that helps to provide a pretty close location to where a telephone is when they call 911.
Oh, good. Well, I want to thank you again. If it wasn't for you and your great team, Meridian and Lauderdale County would be in sad shape.
Well, I appreciate that, ma'am, and I'll make sure to tell them that because, look, it's not me, it's them. They do an awesome job. We got great folks at all different levels that are working to serve the community as best they can, and we appreciate the support.
All right, good
That's
call.
a nice selection there. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Our number here is 601-485-9191. We'd love to hear from you.
Let me say something real quick while I'm thinking about it.
Sure.
These things flood my mind about cell phones and calling 911. While there is a method to do that, that takes a little bit of time and it's an additional step. I would encourage people. A lot of people have done away with home phones.
Right.
So, if you dial 911, you need to be thinking about the fact I need to be able to give where my location, because that's one of the things they're going to ask you. Where are you? Minimum give an address or at least a road, something.
All right, and think about what you're going to be saying, because if you're calling in an accident, for example, what's the intersection? Give it a second of thought. Now, the thing to me is, I know early in the cell phone business, it was a matter of if you dialed 911, where's that call going to go? Because
right.
I guess it's worked out now where it will go.
I think it is. I think it's kind of done where the providers know where their phones are, and they've been able to, I guess, draw some lines.
Yeah.
And you may get close to a county line where you're half a mile away. You may get Kemper County. Because I know at one time, the Naval Air Station up there, their 911 calls on cell phones were going to Kemper.
Right, right.
They'd have to send them back down to us.
Gotcha. All right, it's Mornings in Meridian, and we have more questions. We have a caller on the line. Good morning. Welcome to our show.
Hi, how you doing? I have a question for Sheriff Calhoun.
Sure.
A couple of months ago, I had somebody try to break into my car, and I know a guy was talking about break-ins earlier. And I was curious as to the fact, I know Mississippi is a stand your ground state, but when it comes to personal items on your private property, how are you able to protect those in a sense of like a stranger coming in trying to break into them, whether it be your car or your house or wherever? And also, like if you see a felony crime, somebody about to, maybe rob a store at gunpoint or whatever, what can we do as like civilians to kind of thwart that sort of situation?
Good question.
Okay. Two things. Yes, you're correct. It's commonly referred to as the castle doctrine, where you as a citizen, if you're not precluded from having a firearm, i.e. being a convicted felon, for example, or a person who habitually uses drugs, that could lead off into a whole nother, just don't go there. Let's move on. It's called an affirmative defense for you if you're protecting yourself, your business, or an automobile, or if you're kind of going between these. Okay, so here's the example I tell folks. Let's say that your car is out in front of your home in the middle of the night, and you look up and you have a camera, and you get some kind of notification, and you look up and you see somebody's breaking into your car, and you open your door, and you confront this person. If this person turns and runs away from you, they are not a threat to you then. They're not turning back. They don't have a gun in their hand turning back. They are simply running away, and you shoot them, you're probably going to have a problem, okay? Even though they were breaking into your car. Turn that around a little bit where that person turns towards you and has a gun in their hand, and they point that gun at you, and then you discharge a firearm. You're going to be perfectly fine. The difference there is that are they a threat to you or to someone else? The second kind of part of that is we need good witnesses. If you see something, dial 911 and be that good witness that provides good information about what you're seeing. If you're in a situation where you are a concealed carry firearm or not, you have a firearm and you make that determination that you're going to come to the aid of someone else, you need to make sure these are my words. You need to make sure you know what you're doing, because you may introduce a firearm into a situation that creates a worse problem that's already being presented. And not only to mention that, but then when somebody with a badge and uniform shows up, they're not always going to know you're the good guy. So I tell people, especially people with concealed carry, sometimes I've talked to groups about that are doing those kind of things. Say, look, you got to remember that officer that shows up, they're human too, and they're going through all the things in their head of what's going on, and they don't know you. And so when they say, drop the gun, put the gun down or whatever, if you see them coming and best thing to do is put the gun down before they ever get out of the car. And I tell people all the time, we want to see hands. That's what we're looking for. See your hands. And the whole story that everybody wants to tell, we'll get to that, but let the officer, when he gets there initially, do their job. And you may get put in a pair of handcuffs and put in the back of a car for a short period of time while they sort through what's going on, depending on the situation. Be a good witness is the best thing you can do. Make sure to provide good quality information about what you see, direction of travel, what that person's wearing. Those are the kind of things that are very helpful to us when we have a fluid situation that's going on and, at the time it's happening.
Good call.
Well, I appreciate it, Sheriff Calhoun. I just leave it at one thing. I know the old saying goes, no items are worth losing your life over. Well, I think that should kind of count for the criminals too. They should kind of think about that. Hey, these items ain't losing my life over. Right. They ain't worth it.
Yeah.
Well, y'all have a good one.
The only thing I go back to also is that when you say you see somebody out your window and you get a notification they're breaking into your car, and then you open the door and confront them. That was the one that I'm going to go back to and say, okay, maybe I could confront them by letting them know I'm calling if they can see me through a window or something, I'm calling 911 or something.
Knock
like
on
that.
the window. Hey, I'm calling.
Hello.
In most property crimes like that, that's what they're going to do.
I'm giving you an invitation to leave. Yeah.
Most of the time they're going to run. I mean, given the opportunity, most people, not everyone maybe, but vast majority are going to.
So, and the call brought up an interesting point, mentioned castle doctrine, and does that applies to vehicles?
Correct.
Okay. But only if you're in the vehicle. Is that right? Or does it apply?
The way I understand it is if your home, your business, your car, going between those. Let's say you leave your home headed to your car, or you leave your business headed to your car. You're good there as well.
Okay.
And look, I'm not an attorney. Okay, it's called an affirmative defense. Could some grand jury still indict you? I guess that could happen. That's a Cassie Coleman question. But it's designed to give you some protection against that.
All right, good deal. Let's take a phone call here at 601-485-9191. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good morning.
How you doing?
Oh.
That's the wolf.
The wolf's here.
Hey, I want to take that one step further. They fire a shot, Ward. Breaking in a car or out in the barn or whatever, and they fire a shot in your direction. Once they fire that shot, is it now deemed whatever happens after that, you can return fire?
Yes, sir.
Or can he fire a shot and then run away?
Well,
and be a
how you articulate what happened is what's going to be important.
yeah.
I like what one wise person said. Make sure that you report that you were in danger. You were in fear for your life.
Yep. I feel like my life was in danger.
We're fortunate in Mississippi. There are a lot of states where if you have an avenue of escape, you have to take it before you take any kind of action against somebody. In other words, you have a back door and they're busting in your front door, you got to leave. New York, I believe, is a state
Oh,
like
no,
that.
no. They busting in my front door. You might as well call Stella.
Well, I'm just...
There you go.
As I said, I'm glad I live in Mississippi. It's not, not that way here.
Well, I'm glad we have Sheriff Ward Calhoun. So, all right, guys, have a good day.
Thank you for the phone call. All right.
Stella.
We're going to take another call, but first, caller, we do want to talk about the people who make this show possible, and we're thankful for good folks like Martin Roofing.
Doug and Doug.
Yep.
Yep.
If you see him on your roof, don't hurt him. He's there to do an estimate. You probably invited him.
Don't shoot him off the roof.
He's not going to be.
Oh.
He's not.
for damage, all you got to do is call Doug or Doug, 601-485-5920. You know, they've been doing roofing right for over 30 years. Locally owned and operated, of course, licensed in the state of Mississippi, and they take pride in standing behind their work from start through cleanup. And I mean cleanup. It's like they were never there, except for you got a brand new roof and it don't leak.
Yeah.
You see their signs all over town. They're not running for sheriff or coroner or anything else. They're just running to fix your roof. And all it takes is a phone call, 601-485-5920. That'll get you in touch with Martin Roofing. Best in town.
There you go. Now back to the phones. We have Sheriff Ward Calhoun with us here this morning. Good morning, caller. You have a question for the sheriff.
All right. Good morning, Sheriff. I got three. I'm gonna ask them and then I'll listen for the answer.
Oh,
One,
all three of them.
The dark tinted windows. Okay, that's one. And the next one is all of these loud, roaring engines all over the county.
Oof.
And the next one is I'm literally sitting in front of a elementary or Head Start school. I'm sitting here. If I see someone jump out with a gun and start shooting at that school, and I have a firearm, what are my chances of taking him out, or should I just leave that alone and go take cover? I'm listening in.
Oh, I know the answer to that last one. For me, anyway.
Let's go ahead and take the last one first. Because it's probably the easiest one to answer. Not really, but if you as a citizen believe that someone else's life is in danger and you have the means and the ability to prevent that, I am going to tell you all day long to go and do that. I'm also going to say that you as a citizen need to recognize that you're putting yourself in a potentially bad situation if you don't do it right, and you need to know the intent of that person. And if you have the ability to try to warn or get that person to stop before they ever, in this case, entered the school, then hey, that's great. But if you don't, we'll be doing a ticker tape parade down 22nd Avenue for you. Question one.
For those of you that don't know what ticker tape is, that
I guess that's true. I'm using it.
Tape? Like, is it like duct tape?
Yeah, it's
take a while to shred that up.
I don't know.
Yeah,
all right, back to question one.
Yeah, question one. The
Tinted windows.
tinted window.
We are not, Sheriff's Department, we cannot enforce that statute. And a lot of people also don't realize that if a vehicle comes from the manufacturer with the tinted windows, that is not illegal. And more these days, these vehicles come that way.
Right.
So those are not illegal. There's a listing of vehicles that can have tint. You can get a letter from your doctor that can cause you to have tint greater than whatever the percentage is. Limos, funeral home vehicles. There's a list of different vehicles that can, and we can't even enforce that law.
So you can get a letter for like medical marijuana and tinted
There
windows.
you go.
Wow, that's a combination.
There you go. So the tint, so I don't even know how enforced that is at the state level or the municipal level anymore, because so many places, I see a lot of it myself. What was the second one?
It was about the loud engines or
vehicles.
Those Harleys.
Yeah.
Roger.
One of the things, of course, we don't have anymore in the state of Mississippi is, we don't have inspection stickers anymore. So whether or not how much that was going on anyway, I don't know for sure. But
if it's running loud, look underneath your catalytic converter, may be gone.
Right.
Oh,
and that is
I
had a car came by our church Sunday morning, and it was super loud, and that's exactly, I said somebody's cut the catalytic converter off that car because it was terrible sound.
That actually leads me to a question that kind of affects some friends of mine that live out in the county, and there was a great celebration not far from their residence where there was extremely loud music for hours on end. And so we know that municipalities have sound ordinances and things like that, but what is a person in the county, what recourse do they have if somebody down the road is really just cutting loose, you might say?
And every now and then we'll get a call in the office. I've talked to people through the years about this. Generally speaking, We do have a state statute, disturbance of the public peace. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., that's kind of commonly known, and that's the time period when most people are going to be starting to go to bed and are asleep. When we get a call, a noise complaint like that, what we typically do first is we go to that location and say, hey, somebody's called. If it's these hours, well, we would go if it was even if 9 o'clock, we'd say, hey guys, 10 o'clock, we need to kind of tone things down. I encourage people to speak to their neighbors. If you're going to have, let's say you're having a birthday party next weekend and you've got neighbors kind of around you, it's, say, hey, we're going to have this, got some more people over. We're going to probably be through by 11 o'clock, whatever, and we're going to try real hard not to be too loud. Be kind to your neighbors and talk to them. That goes a long way. If it is a persistent problem, then what I tell people to do is everybody these days, we've been talking about these phones, you got a video. You stand out on your back porch, you turn the video on, and you're able to say, hey, what time it is. It's on the video, actually, I think. It's midnight, and this is what I'm dealing with. And then what you would have to do at that point is you'd have to go to justice court, and you would charge your neighbor with disturbance of the peace. And
your neighbor who knows where you live, knows what time generally you're probably going to go to sleep.
My question is, what if it's just really bad music, like Barry Manilow?
Barry Manilow yesterday.
Or ABBA, what if they're doing something like that's just offensive, I think,
Many times on these calls, we'll go to the house and they turn it down. Of course, when we leave, they say, well, that's why I say, well, have your camera out. And
well, I don't think any of your personnel were called out that night because I think neighbors are probably, first of all, afraid of retribution or the fact that it would not do any good if they were called because of that reason. They come, it goes down a little bit, and then boom, back up.
Back up, yep.
So, I don't know. I've just always thought that for these cars that have the big boom boxes or loud music, there just has to be some sort of electrical device invented that citizens can have that just kind of zaps these things.
Well, they also make very loud speakers, so you could always, if they're playing loud music, you start playing the Barry Manilow right on their property line.
Now there you go.
I'll show you.
Yeah,
it's the Barry Manilow ABBA response. Yeah,
exactly. Fighting fire with fire.
SOS. All right. We've got to get this break in, but we're coming back. Sheriff, don't go anywhere yet, please, sir. In all honor, due respect, we're going to be right back. We'll finish the show. Stay tuned, everybody. Yeah, what you gonna do, Bed? Well, I tell you what. Some parts of the country, you probably just laugh when they come for you, but Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department, I don't think you'll find it very funny. Mornings in Meridian, Roger, along with Rob.
Yep.
Charles.
Yep.
Sheriff Ward Calhoun in the house. And, of course, we want to thank our sponsors like the good folks at Truckers Supply.
That's right. One-stop shop for all of your tools. Trucker Supply has it, 519 Highway 19 South. You know where they are. They got Knipex tools. You know what they are?
They have great channel locks. I know that.
Well, they're better than channel locks. They're like channel locks on steroids.
10 times the gripping power?
10 times. That's
10
amazing.
times.
And, of course, they've got Milwaukee tools made right here in the state of Mississippi. I ought to call them Mississippi tools, but they don't. They call them Milwaukee. They've got a full room of them. Everything they make. Cordless power tools, saws, drills, impact drills, sanders, grinders, cutters, routers, grease guns, and that you can listen to us at work with your Milwaukee Work Radio. And, of course, Yeti, if you like Yeti, and who doesn't? They've got a full line of everything Yeti. Coolers, lunch boxes, mugs, cups, you name it. They even have parts for them. You need a new lid for your mug? Get it there, Truckers Supply. Go see them, 519 Highway 19 South. It is Tool Central.
All right. Sheriff Ward Calhoun, thank you so much for making a stop by our studio.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I absolutely love coming by.
In 10 seconds, any advice for our listeners as we go?
Wear your seatbelt. Stay hydrated. Keep the sun off the top of your head, especially if the coverage you have given by the good Lord is thin or non-existent.
Non-existent.
All right. With that, it's time to say goodbye, everybody. So say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
God bless. Buy local.
For you.